Well, after President Assad vowed to fend off any attack on his country, will he actually try and lock horns with Israel?
Well, we have to see what it means to lock horns. I don't think he'll go ahead with direct military conventional army warfare, but that being said, he might use other means. For example, we don't know what tricks Syria does have up its sleeve. For now, I don't believe that there will be all-out military warfare, although we have to remember that Hezbollah is one of Syria's allies. Iran is also one of Syria's allies, and it's important to note here that the head of the Supreme National Security Council, the Iranian Supreme National Security Council, Saeed Jalili, as we can see on your screen, is currently in Syria. So he might not respond directly with a direct, conventional army to conventional army warfare, but there might be other means used, targeting, for example, certain Israeli officials, stirring trouble for Israel in general. And I think that that's something which Syria is an expert at doing. Syria has, under Bashar al-Assad and also under his father, has been a source of concern for a very long time for the Israeli side. And I think that's why the Israelis are so keen on having to see or seeing Bashar al-Assad be ousted. And
but isn't, sorry to interrupt, but isn't that also a reason why Israel was very keen to target these chemical weapons, or allegedly targeting these chemical weapons, because they were frightened that they could get into the hands of Hezbollah? On that basis, weren't their actions justified?
Well, look, the issue of chemical weapons, I'm not sure if that's the real issue. I think that I highly suspect that there was an arms convoy which was targeted, but I'm not sure it was chemical weapons. I believe, as some Israeli newspapers themselves highlighted, that it might have been surface-to-air missiles. But my depiction of the situation, or my description, is that the Israelis, due to the internal developments in Syria, now they have an opportunity to try and break this resistance block and try and target these arms convoys which go from the Syrian territory to Hezbollah. Now, these convoys are nothing new. They happen every day. The difference is this time Israel knew about it. So how did it know about it? For example, I suspect that we do have a scenario that some of the Syrian opposition, who are not necessarily Syrian, some of them are non-Syrian, as you say, with support of Saudi Arabia, for example, and other countries, they now have intelligence cooperation with the Israeli Mossad. And so this intelligence cooperation was able to enable Israel to actually go ahead and target this convoy. So I think basically what we're seeing is that Israel is trying to take advantage of the situation. So if you take that into consideration, I don't think that Israel has any interest at all in seeing Assad have the upper hand. And if you just let me include one very important statement which was mentioned by Michael Oren, the Israeli ambassador to Washington, in an interview with Fox News about 3 months ago. He said, if al-Qaeda is in power in Syria, that wouldn't be good, but it wouldn't be as bad as having Bashar al-Assad in power. I think that just explains in general the Israeli perspective, that Israel wants Assad to fall because this will basically break down the Iranian Hezbollah-Syrian axis, which is the biggest threat to the Netanyahu government and to Israel in general.
So therefore, with those ambitions then, okay, with those factors, are you actually talking about what everybody's feared, that the Syrian crisis could develop further into a regional crisis? We could see now a much bigger conflict occurring there with all those interests at play that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, we could. However, we have to also look at what's happening in Munich right now, most notably the meeting between the American Vice President Joseph Biden and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and also a very, very significant meeting between the Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi and the head of the Syrian opposition Ahmed Moaz al-Khatib. I think that if you take note of those meetings, then there's a very high possibility that we are achieving or going towards a diplomatic breakthrough. However, I believe that Israel and Qatar, for example, these two countries, maybe in addition to Saudi Arabia, will try and sabotage such an agreement, even if America agrees to it. Israel here and Qatar might actually go against any possible American, Russian, Iranian breakthrough. That's one of the reasons, I believe, also why Israel launched this attack. It fears that the Americans might be heading, especially now with the next government where we have John Kerry and possibly Chuck Hagel, might be heading towards a rapprochement or an agreement. So we do have these fears. They might go, yes, there is a possibility of diplomatic solution. However, there might be also an attempt to sabotage this solution by Qatar, Israel, and also Turkey and Saudi Arabia.
All right. What, though, if perhaps the rebel coalition does become more united? Sergei Lavrov has said that diplomatic talks could be possible only until the rebels do show some unity. If that does happen, surely then a diplomatic solution could happen without what's going on externally. That if the rebel coalition does get together and decides to negotiate, that could be a major breakthrough. And that's what obviously Sergei Lavrov would like to happen.
Yes, it could be, and I think that we're starting to see that. I think that the comments made by Ahmed Moaz al-Khatib when he said, I'm ready to negotiate with the government, I think those were very important comments, and all the indicators do point out that we have a very, very good chance now of actually reaching a solution. However, once again, I have to say, the problem is Qatar, which is the main financer, by the way, of Jabhat al-Nusra and these extremists, together with Israel. For the first time now, we're seeing some Arab countries and Israel being on the same side, even ahead of the Americans. The Americans, in my perspective, aren't actually on the exact same page here. So there are going to be attempts from some of these Persian Gulf Arab countries and Israel to sabotage such an attempt. The question is, how much ability do they have? In my perspective, I don't think that their ability is that much.
Ali Rizk, thank you very much indeed for joining us live here on RT. Good to hear your thoughts.